From professional football to being a professional in real estate, we're talking about that and more here today on the Commercial Real Estate Report, empowering you to build generational wealth with real estate. I'm your host, Chris Berg, head of business development with Abernathy Holdings. We go out and build Class A self-storage sites, California, Arizona, and soon to be beyond. So if you're out there, you've got any dirt that you want to sell and you think, hey, this might be a fit for storage, please let me know. You can always contact me by going to abernathyholdings.com. Got an incredible guest with us today. Excited to talk about his journey into real estate. Just to give you some background, some context, I just found out this piece here. So high school, he's drafted by the San Francisco Giants, goes on to play two sports at Stanford. He's a starter as a true frosh, both football and basketball, goes on to play with the San Francisco 49ers under the great Bill Walsh, and now is part of the Stanford Athletics Hall of Fame as well. And now crushing it in real estate in the Bay Area as a professional in real estate, John Paye. John, I love your story and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
So I want to start with just your story, because it's incredible how you obviously very gifted athletically and then made this transition into real estate. And so I want to hear your story, one, but also in the context of, I've been talking to a lot of friends, and we just talked about this a moment ago, but that played at Stanford, played in the NFL, and are having maybe some challenges with that identity shift from pro football player to now going out and doing more of a job or a profession. And so why did you end up choosing real estate as your profession?
Well, as you mentioned, I was born and raised here. I was born at Stanford Hospital. I've never lived more than 5 miles radius from Stanford Hospital, Menlo Park, Atherton. Currently, I'm living in Redwood City, and my family was always in real estate way back generations ago when they moved west from Canada. My last name, Paye, the French version, means straw. So we were like wheat farmers way back in Quebec, and then we kind of moved. The family generations moved west, homesteading. So my grandfather actually worked the wheat fields of the Oklahoma Panhandle, and then eventually came out to California and fell in love with the Sierra Nevada foothills and bought 1,000 acres of timber property in the 1850s. So I kind of always knew I would go into real estate. In fact, my first big purchase after my first contract with the 49ers was a commercial property, a 10-acre commercial corner property on the corner of 35th Avenue and Baseline in Phoenix. So happy to be doing real estate, and it just gives you a lot of freedom, but also it allows you to be creative. And I've enjoyed it immensely. I coached a lot of high school sports after my football playing career was over, and now I'm able to. I'm doing real estate full time, and it's neat to connect back with some of my old players and teammates for that matter.
Yeah, you've got a great website. So let's talk about this real quick as well for people out there, because I do want to get into a piece that you're doing right now as well in a moment about you're helping professional athletes who, moving and transition. So if people want to reach out to you, what's the website to do that?
Yeah, so I'm involved in a real estate network called Sports Stars Relocation, and we are part of a network all over the country in major cities that have pro sports franchises. We help coaches, players, administrators relocate when they move from one franchise to another.
Brilliant business. But your website is just johnpaye.com, correct?
Yes, johnpaye.com is kind of my branding here in Northern California. We do stuff, or I do stuff all over the state, but my home base here where I live is the Bay Areas, and more exclusively the San Francisco Peninsula.
So again, obviously very blessed from the standpoint you've had great mentors in your life. The fact that you took your first contract and ended up buying a commercial property, brilliant. And yet, as you are probably well aware, also one of the things I forgot to mention, because your bio is so long, is you're now the president of the NFL Players Association in the Bay Area. So for guys out there, like I spoke with a friend that played for the Dolphins, and he mentioned how, Chris, it's really challenging because one night you're playing a Monday Night Football, and the next thing you know, you've got this 23-year-old in an office showing you how to do an Excel doc, right? Like it's a tough transition. So for guys out there that maybe are in the show but realize, hey, my career's not going to be like a Brett Favre, or maybe they played 3 or 4 years, what would be some of your coaching, pun intended, in regards to making that career transition into real estate?
Well, yes, the average lifespan of an NFL athlete, also known as not for long NFL, is 2.3 years. So, but then again, football is the most NFL brand is the most highly watched sports program in the United States. So you can really leverage your branding with the NFL. I'm actually fortunate enough to be the NFL alumni president of our NorCal chapter. So I do a lot of community service doing that job, but also networks within the community, helping the community, and also gaining important relationships. Because real estate, when it comes down to it, is a relationship business, kind of like, which is basically what sports is too, is relationship based. And I think one thing that football players have in their back pocket is they know how to be part of a team, and that's also a very important part of being a real estate person or developer or agent.
Any kind of coaching you would give guys though? Because I think, a lot of guys maybe don't understand the power of, like you did, taking that first check, investing in commercial real estate from a cash flow perspective, a tax advantage depreciation perspective. So if somebody's out there going, man, I did pretty well for a couple of years, made a few $1,000,000. I mean, I think Brock Purdy's a prime example. He's making what, 800-900 a year, but I think he's got a roommate in the Bay because real estate's so expensive in the Bay Area. So for guys out there that are new, having this sort of windfall of cash, how would you encourage them to start looking at real estate investments or getting involved with real estate?
Well, funny that you brought up Brock Purdy, so I got to throw this out there. So my sister's coached the last 18 years as an assistant women's basketball coach at Stanford, and they played the Iowa State Cyclones on what was it? I think it was Sunday night, and it went into overtime, and Brock was there, and they had a great fan base, and all I can say is the better team won. But yes, Brock is on. He's going into his third year on his 4-year contract with the 49ers, and they probably won't renegotiate it until next year. But I know, commercial real estate, residential real estate is so expensive out here. A lot of people, it's hard for players to live here. But someone in Brock's case, our big time players like Jerry Rice, Steve Young, Joe Montana, they do live here. So I would think and hope that Brock has his entire career with the 49ers and plants himself here permanently on the peninsula. But in any case, what I would just say is, the sooner you can get into real estate, the better. And start small with something that you can handle in terms of an investment portfolio, and obviously follow your wealth manager. I know that a lot of times they want diversification, which I think is important. But there's nothing. Buy that first home that you can sooner rather than later.
Would you encourage guys as well? And I'm not sure how familiar you are with syndications or funds because we're just getting to know each other. But would you encourage guys to look at becoming, limited partners, maybe with some different real estate, either syndications and or funds?
Well, I think the guys today have more. They have more capital than players had when I was playing, but they also there's more wealth managers. Obviously, I wouldn't. I would follow the direction of your wealth manager. Don't jump into something too big to start. Just start small. The name of the game in real estate for me is being able to hold. You want to be able to hold and make your way through rough times because it is cyclical. But out here in California, as long as you've been able to hold, you'll make it through.
What was the first property that you mentioned that you bought in? I think you said Phoenix. Was it a multifamily or what was it?
It was actually a commercial property that ended up selling. I think it was like at that time Kmart was buying up corners, and I was able to subdivide the 10 acres, and they actually bought their piece and ended up buying the other pieces too. So that was a fortunate deal. And again, I think as long as you kind of start small and you can handle what you take off, and being able to hold and wait for the right buyer, you'll be in a good shape.
So let's talk about your transition into real estate. Clearly, with your first contract, you bought some commercial stuff. When did you then begin to get your license? Are you focused now more on residential than commercial? Tell us a little bit about that transition.
Well, yes, I got my license, and I would recommend getting a real estate license. It's not that hard. It's just you do need to put in your time on your classes and then be able to study for your test. I got my license back in '93, and always had that, and was valuable at different points in my life. But yeah, I would recommend all players to get their license, and it provides more flexibility. And also, I've been involved in different entrepreneurship businesses. Like I've owned a sports complex that housed club volleyball teams, club basketball teams, and so my background is obviously in residential, because I bought my first home way back in the early '90s, and kind of leveraged that work my way up the ladder in the housing market. But also I had involvement in industrial space. I converted industrial space that was kind of on the other side, or the east side of town, that we converted to. We got a facility use permit for recreational sports, and and anyway, I've had a great time melding, coaching, sports, and real estate all together. And now I'm doing real estate full time in the commercial segment, as well as the residential segment here in Northern California.
I got to share this with you. I wish I would have met you when I was on the farm. Like, hearing your story, because I'm telling everybody now that I'm in real estate, I'm like, I wish somebody would have grabbed me 20 years ago and just said, Chris, whatever you do, just get into real estate. And that's why I love what you just mentioned. Hey, guys out there, if you're in the show, just get your license. Tell me more about why you think it's so important for guys in the NFL to go out and get their real estate license.
Well, I think first off, I don't know what the percentage is, but majority of people end up buying a home, and it's not that hard of a test. It's basically, I think here in California, it's three different segments of the classes that you have to take. You have to spend at least I think 30 days per segment, and then so all told, if you were kind of consistent, if you kind of started today, you would end up getting a date and being able to take your state license within 9 months. It doesn't have to go that fast, but it just gives you common sense. You should know all the aspects. Like when you buy your first house, there's all kinds of these documents, disclosures that you have to sign and kind of be aware of. And a lot of people just sign it, which is, you can do that. That's why you have an agent, but you'd just be more valuable to yourself to be able to actually take the classes. And the classes are very inexpensive relative wise, and you can do it on your own schedule. So yes, I highly recommend that piece.
Plus, you can then make referrals to, like you said, it's a relationship business. Make referrals. You can get a commission off referral deals as well. So there's some different ways to monetize it. Let's talk about your sports professional athlete transfer coaches business in the context of San Francisco. I do want to get into more of the commercial real estate side of things. And there's so much media around San Francisco right now that you would think, oh my gosh, like there's no way I'm going into that city. And yet there's some other stories suggesting that, AI may save it because it's starting to bubble up and be back to that Silicon Valley days. In regards to the professional sports, you and I had a chance to visit yesterday, and you said there were some rumors out there where some players wouldn't really look at San Francisco from a professional sports team because of some of these media stories in regards to homelessness and drugs and things like that. So is there any veracity to those stories? And if so, what can you share with us?
Well, yes, I spend quite a bit of time going up to San Francisco for different events, different social events as well. Yes, there is a homeless problem in San Francisco. I think that will be kind of addressed in our next elections for the city mayor's position. London Breed's our current mayor. I think she does want to clean up things. But yes, the Giants struggled last year and didn't make the playoffs. They ended up kind of firing their general manager, and one person they brought in to kind of turn things around was Buster Posey, who's kind of more the spokesperson of the franchise. And I know that he made some comments that were covered by the media that it was harder. He felt that the Giants have lost some free agent potential acquisitions because of the quality of life in San Francisco, with the homeless and families being a little bit reticent of wanting to live in San Francisco because of some crime that's happened, and the crime that's happened in the city, violence that's happened in the city. So I think there's what I've kind of sensed is there's kind of a more of a conservative perspective where they want to kind of clean things up so to make it more attractive. And I know, a lot of times sports, you can generate, attention, use that as a platform to talk about things. And I know, that was, I think, Buster, those comments were made public, and I think. I think yes, our city, I think is going to kind of turn the corner here and kind of clean things up.
Tell me more about that, because, and I want to have you share in the context. I think one of the most shocking things I've seen as of late, we had a guest on recently that addressed this as, I don't know if you remember what happened, but when President Xi from China showed up, it was like there was no homelessness, there was no, everything was pristine, and all of a sudden he leaves and it's kind of back to how it was. So my point is, it's clear that they have the ability to clean it up. What do you think is lacking in the will?
Well, it has gotten better. I know, there's different areas that are better than others, but we do have, in an entire country and in California, we have a homeless problem. So I know, San Francisco is working hard to clean that up, and it has gotten better. I know that. Office space right now is a tough sell, especially in San Francisco. I know, as an example, I think commercial real estate office space at one point was going for $1,000 a square foot. Now it's at $200 a square foot. So, and I know a lot of multi-unit properties are kind of just sitting there languishing on with developers worried about the cost of construction and being able to make things or to get financing. So I think, but I am still very bullish on San Francisco. I think it's right for people to come in to make intelligent decisions to buy key pieces. I know there are some of these larger commercial office spaces that are they're kind of returning the keys to the lenders. So I know that's part of the equation. But yeah, San Francisco is definitely coming back. It's one of the most beautiful cities in the country, and I know whoever kind of buys strategically, in 10 years are going to be looking pretty.
It's so fascinating to hear you say that, because I don't know if you know this, if we had one of your players at Stanford on, Matt Moran, on here on the Commercial Real Estate Report, he said pretty much the same thing, John. He's like, hey, if I was a young guy right now, I'd be out there hunting down money and buying up stuff in San Francisco. He goes, long, it's going to be a winner. So I think it's an interesting thesis on your part, because obviously the media has got a much different story to be told there. So if you were mayor for a day, what would you do to start cleaning things up? One, and then number two, not necessarily you, but are you and people in the area concerned as these office vacancies increase? Obviously, you're going to see a huge decrease in tax revenue from these office spaces, and people traveling into San Francisco. What do you see happening there from a tax standpoint?
Well, I think a lot of these properties, the property owners do not really want to decrease the rate on their leases because that will have a downward spiral effect on their value or their appraised values that might trigger some of their financing issues. So what they're doing is they're offering a lot of free rent, but kind of maintaining that the price per square foot that they need to justify their value. So I think what you mentioned, the artificial intelligence is a big component. I'm hearing more and more about that here in the Bay Area, and especially in Silicon Valley, and that's been kind of one of the big things. The Silicon Valley kind of a lot here kind of moved from the South Bay or the Mid Peninsula up to San Francisco. So that's where they got a lot of growth. San Francisco has a lot behind them. I know politically they are going to kind of change. What I've heard, things are going to start to change a little bit, making it more pro-development and kind of giving more concessions to developers, which I think is coming. And things are getting cleaned up. I know that Tenderloin is kind of the one area I'm involved in, the Kroc Center, which is a program into the Tenderloin that takes pretty much families and kids that have been affected by homelessness and trying to so yeah, we are doing good things in the community. The NFL alumni is involved in that, and kind of right up our alley. And I think I am bullish on San Francisco real estate.
So what are they? I mean, you almost made my heart stop when you said, "Hey, they're going to be open to developers," because right now as we're going out and developing self-storage, everyone's like, "Just run from San Francisco. It's a waste of time." They're anti-business. So what are you hearing as far as some of the changes potentially taking place, where they're going to be more pro-business and open to development?
Well, there's been a lot of development that entitlement projects that have been stymied and on hold since the pandemic. And what I'm hearing that's going to happen is they're going to double a lot. Well, they're going to double density on a lot of these projects. So, if, for example, if you have a 50-unit development already entitled, if you go back in, you'll potentially be able to get 1.5 or 2.0 multiplier on your density. So,
Wow.
I mean, there's beautiful parts of San Francisco. We've got now two pro franchises in town now. The Warriors have come back, so it's basically the Golden State Warriors, but they're in San Francisco. So that's why you see them sometimes wear their San Francisco jerseys from way back in the day. And then obviously you have the Giants there too. So. Yeah, I just think stay the course. There will be kind of a fallout on some of these properties that are kind of upside down, but as my left guard at Stanford, number 61, Matt Moran said, um, if he was young, he would go back out and raise some money and start buying up property.
And I'm hearing you say the same thing. Fair assessment on my part.
Very fair, yes.
Yeah, I mean that's I think really good news compared to what the media obviously is portraying about San Francisco. So let's talk about the contrast, because you talked about you're in Redwood City. I know you do a lot of great work in the South Bay as well. Kudos to John Lynch, GM of the 49ers, a great new stadium they have there in the South Bay. What are you seeing in the South Bay as far as just development, real estate? Like what's moving, what's hot, and where do you see things going?
Well, the South Bay is actually there's more land down there, so there's more development opportunities compared to San Mateo County and North, as well as San Francisco, which was kind of confined to space. So that's why just land in general is more valuable per square foot the further north you go up. But yes, Santa Clara County, and that's kind of the heart of Silicon Valley, and as you said, the A1 industry. You hear about that all the time. So their prices haven't come down. In fact, the residential real estate market is still hot here in Palo Alto, Saratoga, Los Gatos, Atherton, Menlo Park. So, in fact, some of the agents that I come across that have been exclusively in San Francisco are like, "Well, John, I think, my commercial, I might want to come down and do, some of the stuff in Lower Peninsula." And one thing that I've heard a lot about and been involved with is so a lot of these new state laws that California has come out. Like there's the new state law called SB 9, which is kind of hit some interesting newsworthy stories about splitting lots. So there's a state law now that every lot can be subdivided, especially in a high rent district. High value district is like Atherton, which is I think the most expensive zip code in America. Primarily, the majority, 90% of those properties are all 1 acre or more. But with this new state law SB 9, you're allowed to bypass. Well, it's a state law, so the local jurisdiction has to abide and interpret this law and allow people to come in and divide their acre property into kind of 60-40, 60%. It can't be less or more than 60-40. So, if you have an acre property, you can subdivide it and put on 2 houses. So some people aren't happy about that, but I know that, quite a few developers that are very excited and doubling houses on, putting 2 houses that were originally was 1 to kind of deal with the shortage of housing that California has.
You've got an extensive background in real estate, so I'm sure you've seen a lot of, like you said, the cycles and different patterns. To use a sports analogy with you, if we were going to talk about maybe a Wayne Gretzky example of, hey, I'm gonna skate to where the puck's going, not where it was. Where do you see things going in real estate, especially in California?
Yes,
What's
people
hot?
obviously, yes, we have a lot of people moving out. I'm an old timer. I've been here my whole life. A lot of my friends have exited and moved to. A lot of people moved to Nevada. They've moved to Texas, where it's more friendly tax-wise, but we still have people coming from all. I mean, we are a culturally rich community. I mean, people have come from all over the world, and yes, really, I'm still very bullish on real estate, and I mean, the heart of the tech world is still right here in Silicon Valley. So I'm happy to be a real estate agent here.
We'll talk more about that in a moment. Like, as you brought up tech, I guess what I'm curious from what you're seeing, like, what are the asset classes? You said, oh my gosh, Chris, and maybe it's the San Francisco office thing, but hey, if I had a bunch of money, I would be looking really heavy into this asset class. Or because you brought up tech in the Silicon Valley, how do you see tech changing real estate? Or maybe even just to get your comments on this new, NAR decision in regards to commissions. So wherever you want to share here, I think it'd be fascinating to get your take.
Yeah, I had 2 breakfasts the last 2 mornings. That's the NAR issue on buyers' commissions for the procuring agent. We'll go through some changes. I know there's talk about some of the big brands out here maybe gobbling up other ones, like kind of a consolidation of kind of those big brands like Compass or Coldwell Banker or Sotheby's or whatever. So I think there's going to be a little bit of consolidation. Probably isn't the best time to have large teams in your group. I've talked about people being more individualistic in their real estate deals as an agent's perspective. But that's part of real estate, is staying one jump ahead of everyone else. So yes. Residential real estate is still going up here in the Mid-Peninsula area. Guys, you can't find, I mean, pretty much it's hard to find anything less than $1 million for a single family residence. I still think the asset class that I would focus in on is what my good teammate Matt Moran said is, I would put together some funds and go after strategic commercial properties up in San Francisco that can be had for a great value.
That is so fascinating, to hear as an outsider. And again, just I'm basing my, I guess my thesis more on what you see in the media. But I don't know if you know the name Ian Jacobs, but there was a really interesting piece that came out recently in the Wall Street Journal where he too comes from a family like yours, heavy in real estate. He's putting together a lot of money right now and investing in office space in San Francisco. So he's seeing the long-term play and what's going on there. I want to give you a chance on if you want to comment on that, but also most importantly, if people want to reach out to you and get a hold of you and maybe work with you on real estate, how do they do that?
Pretty much you just kind of have a unique name. So if you Google John Paye, you'll see my telephone number. I answer my phone all the time, 650-906-3263, John Paye. Would love to help you. And I think you said your other question is, real estate. I can't go. If you're here in San Francisco, Brock Purdy should. I know. I just had heard that his landlord wanted to increase his rent. He pays kind of, in my mind, kind of a high rent, but they want to increase it even more. I think he's the first guy that I'm saying, hey, you should probably buy a house now. But in any case, I know football. You don't get to play that long. So, but in any case, kind of bouncing around here. On the big level, I think the home runs are going to be hit up in San Francisco.
Love that. Good sports analogy. Good way to wrap things up. And I just again want to say thank you for the time and the insight. We'd love to have you back on the show.
All right. Thank you. I'd love to be back anytime. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, John. Great stuff.
Bye-bye.